Welcome to the People, Passion, and Purpose podcast, where you will hear from creative small business owners in the trenches every single day, talking story, talking lessons, talking failures, talking truth. I'm your host, Nina L. Kovner. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back to the podcast. Oh my God, it's been forever since we have been with you guys. And I just have to say, sorry, life gets in the way, shit happens, but we are so stoked to be back with an awesome guest. This week we have Benjamin J., who's not only a dear friend of mine, but also a salon owner, a hairdresser, a marketer, a smart as fuck human being. And welcome, Benjamin J.
It is good to be here, especially with an introduction like that. I have to come around more often.
I know. I totally agree with that. You and I go so far back, and I just love it because I love that we're talking. Thank you for saying yes to sharing your story. I love that we're talking because you have been there since day one at Passion Squared.
That is true.
And it's so crazy.
It was one of the early social media success stories I think that we both had in terms of starting to reach out and connect with people that you didn't know or that you hope you might get to know.
That's right.
And so, that was pretty cool.
It really was. And you brought me out to Chicago and I got to do a class. That was like 2012 or 2013.
That sounds about right.
So very long ago. And oh my God, like nothing's changed and everything's changed, Yeah,
that is the best way to describe it.
It's so crazy. So let's talk about you. How long have you been an owner and why did you choose to become one?
Well, that is actually, I feel like my story is always like different than most people. Being a second generation stylist and salon owner. It's a family business that my parents started in 1980. So I sometimes don't feel like I made the conscious decision to become an owner. When I graduated high school, I went to college for a year, didn't want to do that. I really did want to focus on management and marketing. And so then I was working full time, just helping mom and dad. And I thought, you know what, I've got a business right here that I can manage and market. And so I just figured that nothing was going to teach me better than the experience of just trying was going to. And luckily, that was very early in social media and internet and the importance of those. And since mom and dad didn't really know what to do with it, it was kind of like, sure, you can do that Facebook thing. You can do that. We did an AOL Instant Messenger so that because we were on a college campus, so that college students could IM and request an appointment. And dad was like, who's going to do that? I was like, I'll handle it. He was like, all right, go ahead.
I love it.
So, and so then that evolved. And I figured, if I was going to be running the place, I needed to go to beauty school and get the technical side of stuff too. And so, it's just constantly been an evolution of what is the next, what is the next thing that I need to get in order to keep growing.
And you and I share that in common, this passion for business, and, I went to beauty school and I mean, I was okay or whatever, but I didn't realize I had the passion for business. But once I got the business bug, of course, that's where I stayed. And I think that that's so important because we all know that many creative folks lack that business, that business experience or that business wisdom or whatever. And they need folks like you and I to, to reach their goals and objectives. You had mentioned AOL Messenger, and you were obviously a very early adopter in the social space. What did you see? What opportunities did you see then? And what opportunities do you see now?
At the time, it just felt like if you were going to be early, you could really succeed with it. So obviously, AOL Instant Messenger was not a big platform, but we thought it'd be cool. But Yelp was a big one that we tried to get on early. Facebook Pages was something that we tried to get on really early. And then inevitably what ended up happening was because I didn't really have a strategy at that point. It just became, call today and book and get a free shampoo. Call today and get 10% off. And so then I had stylists that were like, these are my regulars. Could you please stop giving them 10% off just because they booked through Facebook? And so, yeah, so like there was opportunity there. And then there was also learning, what works and what doesn't work. The stuff that I see today is, there's still a, plethora of opportunity for people if they understand what their goal is with it. I think that trying to get to the 50, 75, 100,000 followers is probably really hard. I'm not anywhere near those, so I don't know what that experience is like, but I think that there's still a huge potential for you to get, a couple thousand, few thousand, and then have a very loyal and local following if people have a local business.
Loyal and local.
Yeah.
I love that. It's so true because it's still very misunderstood that the amount collecting followers is completely irrelevant if you're not meeting your objective.
Correct.
And getting clear on what outcome you're seeking. And I love that you really simplified that into loyal and local if in fact your objective is to build a local business.
Correct. Like I used to get to tour with schools all over the country and they would start following the salon. And so it was like, well, I really want you following our education department, not the salon, because if I'm trying to post stuff and get people to come to the salon and you're just a beauty school student in Arizona, that's not really going to help me get a client in Chicago. It looks good because everybody, of course, you look at the numbers like, wow, they've got that many followers, but they're not really going to be coming and paying for services.
Yeah. So you had mentioned Yelp, which is still like the most hated platform ever. And I'm still a fan all these 100 years later.
I'm still a fan.
Of course. So that's such a myth. And it's interesting. I just actually did a little totally anecdotal impromptu poll on Passion Squared Insta stories. Do you know where your referrals come from? Where they come from, whatever. And of course, Yelp came up on almost every answer, but no one talks about it. It's almost like the thing you just don't want to admit because it's more popular to be a Yelp hater than to admit that a majority of your referrals actually do come outside of Instagram, even though you spend all fucking day on Instagram.
Well, Instagram is pretty and it's fun and it feels more of the now.
And it's social.
And it's where we're personally hanging out probably. And so then, of course, you want to participate in it.
Yes.
But, Yelp for us, I mean, Google's number one. Yelp is number two.
So Google's come up for number one for you.
Yeah, we still get a lot of referral, still just people searching Chicago hair salon. And then that still is a big driver. But in Chicago, the culture of the city is that you don't go anywhere new before Yelping it. Even if your friend says hey, Hair Loft is awesome, you should go check out Ben. You go, okay, cool. And then you go to Yelp and you make sure your friend isn't full of it. And then you back, you want Yelp to back them up. Yeah. So yeah, it's super important, and so we put our Instagram photos on there. We've got all of the information filled out and
excellent.
One location's got 4.5 stars and the other one's got 5. And so we look
fantastic.
Good. And so people want to
come up high in search. And while we're talking about Yelp, let me just do a little sidebar. No, you don't have to pay Yelp to advertise, guys. Consistent reviews is all you need. Consistent reviews. You need to optimize your page. Like Ben just said, upload photos, make sure that the titles of the photos are on point with what you're marketing. That's all you got to do, guys. A few reviews a month. You're going to rank high in search. You're going to rank high on voice search. You're going to rank high in general if you have a consistent Yelp page. So, and you can hate them. You can hate them all you want, but it still works. It still works. Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up. Okay. So we're talking about the not so sexy parts of building a business. Cause you and I geek out on this shit. I know you're passionate about marketing, and you and I kind of came together several years ago on email marketing.
Yep.
Because I was super passionate about it and you were looking at ways to build your email marketing. So, I have to ask you to tell the story about that first holiday campaign you did 100 years ago.
So my theory, and it is, right in line with the Passion Square theory, is content is your marketing. And you have to be delivering it, with context to, what your message is. And so it's become our annual campaign for the holidays, which is, November 2nd, November 3rd, something like that. It's just a general email to people that don't already have a reservation set up. Here are our hours. Here's our product packages. Here's, maybe special services that we have. We don't really do a lot of discounting, but just simply saying, here's when we're going to be here. And every single year, it is our most popular email in terms of I can see how much service gets booked from that email. And so then, we tend to just keep breaking off pieces of it, so today I just did another email that was before you cut the turkey, get a haircut. And again, it was directed at people that hadn't been in 2 months, that still don't have an appointment set up, because we're going to be here. We still have tomorrow, the Saturday, tomorrow as of this recording. And then we're there the Monday, the Tuesday, and the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So if I still got time, I still want people before they're cutting their turkey. So, and it's really just about creating the content for it, which isn't that hard. You can really make that listeners can make that what they want, but it's about understanding what is your strategy and what is your desired outcome from that. So, it's always been good for us. And
it's generated several $1,000s in revenue.
Yeah, every time, and would those people have come in? They might have gotten around to it,
some of them,
but I would rather get them scheduled and get them, in their calendars and, on the book.
Absolutely. I mean, that's your job, right?
Right.
It's do your fucking job.
Right.
And if I'm the customer, I'm busy. I'm busy. I've got family and this and cooking and holidays and shopping. Yeah, remind me. Give me a nice little reminder with a call to action with an easy little booking link.
Definitely.
And help me out here. You know what I mean? And that's the thing.
Right.
It's email. Those kind of emails are not intrusive. What's intrusive is random spam.
Yes.
That's intrusive.
And that's why picking and choosing, who you're sending it to and when you're sending it. Like I said, I remove people that already have an appointment. Because if they already have one, why am I, hey, book an appointment? Well, they already have it. So mission accomplished with them already. So don't waste an email.
And most email marketing platforms have a segment. You can segment them. So it's simple, or your salon software or your business software. I got that email on November 2nd or 3rd because I don't have an appointment. I don't have an appointment with you in Chicago. So I got my booking reminder. Thank you for that.
No problem. Hope to see you before you carve the turkey.
Right. Exactly. So do you have any frequency of send besides the holidays? How do you manage that?
I will say that this year I've gotten a little bit behind on extra emails. So we have standard ones that are automated. So I have one that goes out to people 5 weeks after their last one, if they haven't set one up, which is just simply a little reminder that I think our subject line is just a heads up. So it's got a little pun in there.
Yeah.
And then another one.
How does that one work?
We do work through our booking software. So we use Salon Transcripts. And so they have part of their email program is called notifications.
Excellent.
And you can set your content, set your imagery, your links, or whatever is going to be in your email. And then it will just, whoever's hits those requirements today, it'll send out those emails.
And do you get bookings from those emails?
Yes. It depends on what the client's frequency is. So then there's another one that goes out after 8 weeks that we change the content. So it's not just us nagging them.
Right.
But the one after 8 weeks is a little bit more newsletter style, where it's here's what's new and now, and what's going on in the salon. Maybe new services, new products, here's what you're missing out on by not being here. And usually by then that one will start to capture people's attention, because a lot of people with balayages and long hair, are coming.
Yeah. Their frequency of visit is less.
Yeah.
But you're still doing your job. You're still saying, hey, we miss you.
Right.
Get your ass in here. I love that. Because we all have to put our client hats on here. We forget. I was telling a story. I don't know if it was earlier in the year or last year, but I had a business. I was in a membership, and So I was already paid for services, and they forgot to pre-book me, and it was a monthly. I was an every 4-week client, and I missed 2 cycles of that, 2 months. Wow. And the only phone call I got from them was that they needed me to update my credit card information for my membership. Not where have you been? Not, oh my gosh, you've gone 2 months without seeing us. They just wanted my money. I was pissed.
Right. And that definitely creates a negative guest experience because, well, you thought you signed up for this value.
They didn't
when you
care.
Didn't get it. Yeah, they didn't actually care.
When you email me, you say, I care. We're paying attention. I care that you have your holiday reservation. I care that you haven't been in 8 weeks because I know you love having that fresh haircut or that fresh color or whatever business you're in, fresh, whatever. I love that. I love that. Okay, I want to just switch gears for a minute. You have a second location now.
We do.
Okay. And you've kind of built that from scratch. So can you share a little bit of, we talked about social, we talked about marketing. Have you tapped into any of those tools to actually build a team?
So like using social to build a team or just
those relationships and online relationships?
I'm sure that it is attractive. Like we tend to hire like fresh out of beauty school, and so most of the recruiting is probably more a combination of having a good relationship with our local school, going in and doing some form of a presentation or, when they do like career fairs and stuff, attending those. And then I'm sure that social does become a part of it because then they follow the salon and they go, wow, like they're doing cool stuff. But I think that the IRL, the in real life stuff is also really, really important to, getting into school if that's where you're hiring from.
Right.
So I don't know that I use social as too much of a recruiting tool. But when we do have a job posting, we'll of course share it. And that then tends to get people to message and say, hey, I'm interested at least.
So you keep an ongoing relationship with the local schools because your business model is hiring graduates.
Yeah, I was just talking with one of the placement leaders this afternoon, actually, because she's putting together next year's calendar. And so I was asking when can I come? And she said, you have first dibs because you hired the most of our graduates, more than any other salon this year. So I was like, that's pretty cool. But yeah, so, like you got to be present and participate.
That's right.
And build those relationships on purpose.
That's so true because many times what happens is someone's like, oh shit, I need people. And it's like, well, do you have a relationship with your school? And it's like, no.
Right.
Because just like social though, it takes time to build trust in relationships online or off.
Definitely. I think that there's a huge difference between hiring and recruiting.
Yeah.
And you're always recruiting. You always want to be the salon that is the spot to work and like should be known as like the place to be. But you're not always going to be hiring. Sometimes you've already got people in development. You don't have space or whatever. But in that moment, when you do need somebody, you want to have some resumes on hand or some contacts that you can be like, hey, door's open.
We're ready.
Yeah.
I love that. Recruiting versus hiring. And that's probably a sports thing, right? Because you're Mr. Sports.
I'm sure the colleges, are always trying to recruit like who the next right. Team is going to be.
Yeah. Scouting. They're scouting.
Exactly. So, but yeah, like you just want to put yourself in the best position and then when you need it, it's there.
That is the right term, scouting, right? Isn't that scout?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, who the fuck am I? I don't know anything about sports. Just trying to relate with you, man. That's
Throw
all.
out sports terms. Yeah.
There you go. So sports terms. Okay. I want to talk quickly about retail.
Okay.
Now, of course, within the context of we're talking about the salon industry. And again, you're a marketer. So retail's changed a lot.
It definitely has.
What's happening and what's your kind of like take? How are you making it happen for the salons?
I mean, I think it really does depend on like the salon setup, Now, again, like you were saying, we're multi-location. I've got 15 stylists at one location, 8 at the other. So both locations are pretty sizable compared to what the average salon is. Mm-hmm. I think that it comes down to, its importance is like, what are you currently doing? If your revenue is 2% coming from take-home sales, I think it would be hard to justify that. And I think it's also hard to honestly get upset if product manufacturers are selling online because you're not selling it. So they've got to sell it somewhere. But if you're going to take it seriously and you're going to incorporate it into your experience and it's part of your style profile and your recommendations and you're planning on it, our retail is somewhere closer to like 9 to 10%. So it's not the best, but it's a decent amount of our total sales. You can continue to participate. It's still more convenient. Most of the time, I think you can match the price of what they can find on manufacturers' websites and Amazon. And if you want to do some sort of a rewards program, there's that. I liked what you were saying about reworking your business model and incorporating it into the price if you do that way. So there are still ways to win.
To do it. Yep.
Yeah, there are still ways to win, but you just got to pick and choose your battles. Like if it's not going to be substantial for you, I don't see the point in doing it.
Right. What is your thoughts on the Amazon local stores? Is that something you guys are going to do, or are you just going to sit back and watch? Integrate maybe a little bit?
I'm just going to keep doing what we're doing. If I started to see the numbers change, then perhaps I would look more into it. But
gotcha.
And
that's
I feel pretty confident with our experience right now. You know, and we started. We added to our website our own e-commerce. Now we haven't had a ton of sales through it, but at least then I can participate that way, and we can send it to people locally, and it's not too expensive.
And again, like we've always said, the most important is when someone's inside the four walls of the business. Right. And if you're delivering on that experience and promise, then they're walking out with whatever they need. And it could be nothing, or it could be multiple items, Right. And that's really the most important part. That's good to hear. I mean, the thing we have to remember is, I learned very early on in my career, executing the fundamentals, that never changes.
It never changes. Advanced haircutting class. For the creatives, every advanced haircutting class you take is always about like your geometric shapes and like 3 techniques. Yeah. And so, it's the same with business an advanced business class would be getting back down to what is your mission? What is your values? How are you going to execute them? And what are your logistics and numbers?
We get so distracted by the shiny objects, and I get it because we're human. But that's the thing that has always served me well is getting back to executing the fundamentals consistently. And if you do that, you can add shiny objects here and there and tap into new technologies to make things more awesome, more efficient, level up the experience, whatever. But the fundamentals don't change.
Right. Yeah. The new stuff can support the old school.
Yeah.
Then, good.
So true. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about anything you wish you would have known before becoming a leader and owner of a business?
I'm sure that there is. I can't come up with any. I was lucky that my parents were business owners before I got into it.
Yeah.
So they set a really great model to follow.
Shout out to mom and dad.
Mom and dad. Yeah. If it weren't for them, I certainly wouldn't be in the business, but I also wouldn't have such a good blueprint to be able to follow.
So true.
And I was able to, even before beauty school, I was taking classes with Robert Cromings, with Stephen Terry Cowan. And I remember seeing you at Gathering 1 year before going to beauty school. So I had great exposure to good role models before.
But that's a lesson right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You had exposure. You didn't walk in blind.
Yeah. So I felt like I had some knowledge, and I picked it up relatively quickly. I am surprised when I see people buy a business and then like, hey guys, how do I run a hair salon? I just bought one on Friday. I'm like, yeah,
I know.
Oh man. Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, having that exposure and knowledge beforehand did really, really set me up for success.
I love that. Passion. What does passion mean to you?
There is a really good quote from Steve Jobs that he said something along the lines of like, passion is what keeps you going. It's almost it'll drive you crazy because if you're truly passionate about it, you'll keep going when other people would give up. And I know that that's not exactly verbatim how he said it, but I think that that's what it is. This is a pretty hard industry in order to make an impact, whether it is, in a salon or growing a business or education or anything. And you have a lot of people that drop out for whatever various reasons. But when that going gets tough, having the passion to just keep pushing through, I think is the only thing that gets you through sometimes.
There's no question. I'm actually trying to find a quote, a Steve Jobs quote, because my next question, of course, was a favorite quote of yours.
There is that one. That one is good. I would probably actually say something that my dad would always say, which is, if you take care of your people will take care of you. And he might have gotten that from the Marine Corps, but that is another thing that I often see is business owners talking or treating their employees as a burden rather than a blessing. And, I get like there's numbers and you want to keep your costs down and everything. But to me, I love seeing payroll go up. Like, yeah, if they're winning, then I'm winning. And as an owner, you're not a success if your team's not a success. And so, trying to really flip the script on that. And so that quote has always stuck with me, because if we take care of them, they'll take care of us. And it's so true. And the guests will be taken care of as well. I mean, That's just kind of culture 101. And I love that. And I just love that because it is so simple, yet we do see people get so stressed out about their people and trust being broken, particularly in the professional salon industry. And it really is as simple as really giving a fuck about your people. Yeah. That's my quote. No, I'm just kidding. I'll put that one next to the other one. Ben, thank you so much. Where can we find you? So we have, of course, your amazing salons, the Hair Lofts in Chicago. That's right. Where can we find you online, offline, wherever? If they do want to follow or check out the salon, it's at the Hair Loft LTD on Instagram. Awesome. I am, my personal Instagram is at BNJMNJY. It's Benjamin J minus the vowels. Minus the vowels. Yeah. Awesome. That one has lately mostly just been me and dog photos. Love it. That's the most popular shit on Instagram. Yeah. I do love answering questions. So if people want to, DM me or ask me anything, that's good. And my email is ben@thehairloftltd.com. Awesome. Ben, thank you so much. This was so awesome. I feel like it's like Throwback Thursday and it's Flashback Friday. It's actually, we're recording on a Friday, right? Yeah. It's just so good to connect with you and just following you through the years and watching you grow. And, I love your family. And I'm just it's such an honor to be on this journey with you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. You're welcome. Thanks you guys so much for listening. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. To learn more about Passion Squared, you can visit us at passionsquared.net. You can find us on the gram and on Facebook at Passion Squared. And be sure to subscribe and share with your friends. We're so grateful. Thank you so much for joining us. Have an awesome day, guys. Love you.